Hello, Mr. Minnick helping my students with this worksheet, Writing for Loops worksheet number 2. Keep in mind that you should have already done all the tracing for loop worksheets as well as any tracing while loop worksheets in this unit before tackling this worksheet. Some of the code segments or exercises on previous tracing worksheets will be useful here, as well as any lecture notes that have been provided. Also, I want to stress that even though this worksheet is about for loops, I might have already given you while loop worksheets where the while loops that you traced could be converted easily to a for loop that meets the requirements of exercises here. For loops and while loops are pretty much interchangeable. They're just two different styles in computer science. Okay, let's begin looking over number 1. I say write a code segment because technically it's more than just a loop that you have to write. You must declare the variable, in this case, sum, or total, whatever you want to name it, but I recommend naming it sum just to be consistent with previous worksheets. So let's get our indentation nicely ready to go over here on the left. Sum equals 0 would be a good first line of code right there. Okay, you must use a for loop. So I'm going to write the word for in such a way that the F is perfectly vertically aligned with the S, because Python is very sensitive to indentation. And do I tell you that you have to use the loop control variable I? No, I don't, but let's be consistent with standard computer science techniques and all of my lecture notes and previous examples. Let's use I for I in range. You should have that pretty much memorized for an upcoming test. For I in range, we're using the range function here. There are other ways to do it, but I want you to use the range function. And let's use the range function with 2 parameters, something comma something. Oh, evenly divisible by 3. We could step by 3s and perhaps use 3 parameters in the parentheses of the range function. Now you could also do this exercise with 2 parameters and then use the mod operator to test for divisibility to see if something's evenly divisible by 3. But why do that extra work when you don't have to? I would consider that less efficient. And I'm stressing that you should do this efficiently here. So I recommend the 3 parameter version. I have the numbers 120, 180, and the fact that it's evenly divisible by 3 should help you fill in those 3 blanks. Now what is it that you're doing in the body of the for loop? You're accumulating a running total. So you're probably going to have indented nicely here sum, and to be really efficient and powerful, plus equals, and you have to decide whether you're going to put the number 1 there or the control loop variable I to accumulate a running total of numbers that span from 120 to 180, but that are also evenly divisible by 3. So I'm not filling that in on purpose, but I pretty much, with these 3 or 4 blanks left, that's it. You don't have to print anything. You don't have to trace it over here in the right margin. Good luck finishing exercise 1, filling in those necessary numbers. Number 2, there was help. Well, there was a related exercise on tracing while loop worksheet number 1, exercise number 6, that helped you, I seem to remember, compute 2 to the 4th power, or maybe it was the 2 to the 5th power. So there was code that did not use the math.power function that's built into Python, but I used a while loop to do raise a number to an exponent. Well, in this question, you need to figure out what 3 raised to the 4th power is. But you need to use a loop and any extra variables. I think I used the variable name result in that previous exercise, and I initialized result to the number 1 rather than 0 in that other code segment that I mentioned in this video. You're going to have to replay it to hear which exercise to look at. If you're a future AP student at YM Missing Area High School, you should be able to do something like this with raw brain power. I'm saying raw brain power under a little bit of time pressure, and get it right without a computer to have to check your answer. Now, I do want you to trace over here in the right margin the result and any other variables that you end up using, such as I, and circle the final values. 3 to the 4th, and you should be able to figure that out in your head without using a calculator since you're a 9th grader or above. Number 3, there's something in the world of calculus called summation. It's kind of related to factorial, which was on a previous while loop worksheet. I'm not going to even tell you what number worksheet that was, one of my tracing while loop worksheets, and what exercise it was. Look it up or do it from brain power without looking it up. Because on test day, you won't have like an open notebook if I ask you to do something like this on a test. So that's a nice little code segment that adds up the numbers 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. And the total there is, well, you can figure it out yourself. The total that should be circled somewhere is whatever 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is. That's called a summation. And number 4, there was a previous while loop worksheet that has something to do with some evens and some odds. I'm pretty much expecting you to convert that while loop into a for loop that pretty much does the same thing, where you check the remainder of something divided by something to see if it's a 0 or not, to tell whether something's even or odd. Good luck with the worksheet.